time in Livermore, he has been responsible for many notable accomplishments. He has implemented the area command policing model, expanding community policing efforts and strengthening relationships with the Livermore community. He was integral in the creation of a real-time crime center, allowing for more efficient and effective responses to crime events. Most recently, he has actively engaged with the City Council Equity and Inclusion Subcommittee to address many pressing law enforcement issues, including racial justice, police response to mental illness, and diversity in recruitment. Please welcome Jeremy Young.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. It's nice to be here this morning. And I have some weird shadows coming through my window. So it's not a weird suntan, I promise. But I did want to go through a few things, a few updates, and then spend some time answering whatever questions you might have. And I wanted to start with some of the things that were in the introduction, and some of our biggest challenges over the last several years was staffing. And we really struggled, like most places in California and certainly in Alameda County, to find police officers. But we've made a lot of gains in that area, and I'm happy to say we're within one or two positions from being fully staffed as far as police officers go. So that's really good. And I think in addition to that, we have another 7 candidates who are lateral police officers in the background process. And so I do expect by the end of the year to be very close to fully staffed, which is a huge accomplishment, not only from our team, the city's HR department, and also our community, because last year I was talking about the fact that it's hard to find police officers, and the police officers today care most about working in a community that supports them and where they feel like they can make a difference and work as a team with the community. And Livermore is that community. And so this success, as far as our staffing, really is ours as a community, and not just the cities or the police departments. Because without that support, we certainly wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. So everything's looking really good. Like I said, by the end of the year, I expect to be fully staffed. And we do have 7 officers in the academy right now. So we'll spend about 6 or 8 months finishing the training process. But the trend is definitely in the right direction, not only with police officers, but also dispatchers, which is another area that has been very difficult throughout the state and county to staff. And those are all the people who take that 911 call and get help to the community when they need it. We are 1 position down in dispatch, and there again, we have several in backgrounds. And so I expect to be in a really good spot by the end of the year in dispatch as well. So a lot of good news as far as staffing goes. And I can't wait to actually see that. And just to put it in perspective, I've been in Livermore for going on 11 years. I have never seen the department fully staffed. And I don't know if any county department has been staffed fully as far as police and dispatch go either. So this is a big thing. The other thing I wanted to mention that always comes up is crime trends. I know the mayor mentioned Livermore is one of the safest cities or suburbs in the U.S., and that continues to be our focus. And I know that our violent crime has stayed relatively flat. It's much lower than most cities in Alameda County. Our property crimes have increased a bit, mostly around auto theft and burglaries. But that is a trend we've seen across the state, especially in the county, over the last several years. But we're doing our best to address those using our technology, our real-time awareness center, to help us locate and prevent these sorts of crimes. A couple new programs I wanted to mention, and one that is really taken off and been successful is our mobile evaluation team. So they go out and deal with people who are in mental health crisis or need additional mental health services in the field. And so we paired them with a police officer because some of the challenges are these calls involve violence or potential violence. And so we can't just send mental health professionals out there by themselves. In a lot of these cases, they would wait for police officers to arrive. And then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a mental health professional on scene as a first contact in order to have better outcomes. So we paired a police officer and a mental health therapist. They ride together. They respond first to these mental health related calls. And the therapist really takes the lead. The police officer is there just to make sure that the therapist is safe while they're doing their work. And we've seen progress in that area, mostly in the way of when we write a detention for mental health purposes. In the past, when a police officer writes those, when they get to a mental health facility, they're usually, or in most cases, released very quickly after being accepted at that facility. They're not held for 72 hours for the full evaluation. It hasn't happened as well. But now with the therapist writing those holds, we're seeing those people be held for longer periods so they can be better evaluated and in most cases treated much better. And then once they're back in our community, we can provide some follow-up and continue to check on them to do some case management to make sure they're not back in the system immediately and involved in another crisis call. So that's been working very well. And we continue to evaluate that to make sure we match their hours as closely as we can with the calls for service. And so that's kind of a moving target. But right now we just have that for about 44 hours a week. Also, we have our support dogs. You've probably seen them out in the community. We have 2 of them. These dogs have been very effective in not only in the workforce, in dispatch, some of the stressful situations that our workforce sees. They're able to reduce stress and increase mental health along the first responders. But we've also been called to other agencies who have had tragic situations occur. There was one at Alameda County Sheriff's Department where a dispatcher died on duty, had a heart attack in the dispatch center. And the next day we sent our dogs over there upon their request and spent the whole shift with them. And that really made a difference to that team who was really going through a lot of trauma. But not only that, they have helped us in investigations. We did have a violent crime where a 14-year-old witnessed it, unfortunately, and was very disturbed by the event. And so we called the dog out to sit with the 14-year-old for many hours, and that really reduced the stress. And then the dog was able to stay with the 14-year-old while we did an interview. And it turned out very well. And we had reports back from the family that without the dog, we probably would not have had success with the interview, and also kind of creating an environment that wasn't as stressful for that 14-year-old. So we've seen a lot of positive impacts of these support dogs, and we're looking forward to continuing that program. Today, they'll be at the Sheriff's Department presenting our program to the Sheriff's Department because they're looking at adding this to their department. So that's a really positive thing. And finally, I just wanted to mention, you've probably seen in the paper, we have started a mounted police unit. And I know there's probably some questions about this, and I'll just say that, I think the mounted patrol unit works very well in this community. We have a long heritage of rodeo and things like that. But in addition to that, there's a lot of good reasons to have a mounted unit. They can get into areas that patrol cars can't get into along the creeks and trails and things like that. So in parks, so we can service those areas better. They also, when a police officer is on top of the horse, have a very good vantage point to see further above cars, through parking lots, things that we couldn't get from a vehicle or an officer on foot. And finally, maybe one of the most important things is the community engagement that you get when you have an officer on a horse. And I came from agencies who had units, so I saw the difference. But my family and I were at the fair um, just about a year ago, and when we were walking in, we saw the officers on foot, and they were standing there watching the crowds come through the fair and everything. And everyone was polite, but nobody really took the time to stop and chat or shake hands or do anything like that or get a photo. But when I got further into the fair, I saw a few officers on horses, and there was a crowd of kids and families around them getting photos. They were handing out stickers, and that engagement is really one of the things we're interested in is meeting people in various different ways. And I think that'll definitely increase our community outreach and our partnership with the community. And so I think it serves many different purposes. And also, we didn't buy horses. The officers own the horses. We give them a stipend to help maintain the horses, but the city did not purchase horses and things like that. And so we tried to keep the costs down. And I think we have a model that works in most cities. And I'm looking forward to seeing this unit progress. So I covered a lot there. I wanted to leave some time for questions, and so at this point, I'll see who has questions. And I don't know, I'm probably going to have a hard time seeing the screen, so I don't know if somebody can help me field those questions, but we'll start with that.
Yeah, if anyone has a question, please use your, raise your hand with the icon or type it in the chat and we'll get those over. Tracy, I see you first. Go ahead.
Yes, congratulations, Chief. Nice to have you there and on board. I was just curious, all those reasons for mounted police sound fantastic. Have you also seen a reduction in crime because of a mounted police force?
We have not yet, but they are not fully qualified and working patrol yet. They're still going through the training phases. The horses have to go through a lot of training so they don't get spooked or react in a negative way around crowds, noise, lights, all the different things. So we haven't used them yet in a patrol environment, but we expect to start that very soon. I think they did a community event last month, and that's kind of the way we're starting with it. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't think about that. The horses had to be trained as well. Of course they do. We'll give you time.
Thank you.
Mayor Marchand has a question.
So has it really been 11 years? That's astonishing. So recently, about a year ago, there was a study that was done over the previous 10 years with the Livermore Police Department, and it went over, I believe, over 29,000 interactions with the public. And the conclusion of that study was that the Livermore Police Department was fair and unbiased in its interaction with the public. And I think that's really quite remarkable. I think that points out the leadership that we have in the police department, that we do have a department that is fair and unbiased. And as you pointed out, one of the safest suburbs in the country. So great work and excellent work. And could you talk about the VirTra system? I think that's a really cool system that not a lot of departments have.
I will, and thanks for the positive comments and your support. We definitely couldn't do it without your support. But as far as the study goes, during the George Floyd times, there was a lot of questions the community had about their police departments and how we interact. And if it was anything like some of the other agencies across the country that didn't have the type of training, policies, procedures, or oversight that we did have. And during that time, there was a lot of questions about, well, are officers treating people fairly? And it was a great question. And I always viewed it from my perspective of course we are. This is the people we hire, this is the way we treat people. But until you really dig into the data and hire a PhD and a statistician to kind of look at all those things, you don't really know for sure. And so that's what we did. And I remember at the conclusion of it, they told me, well, that was pretty risky because you had no idea what it would look like over that amount of data. And I felt comfortable with it, and I figured it would show that what I thought I saw within the department and everything, but I'm not there 24/7. And so it was a great study, very academic. I have it on my desk still. It's also available on our website if you want to go through it and see how they gauged all this stuff. But definitely proud of the work that our officers do, and also very thankful for that the funding of that study and the professionals who really dug into that. As far as Virtra, this is a virtual simulator that we have set up in our police department permanently, where we can train officers in various different interactions with the community. And it's very realistic. They use their own weapons, obviously without bullets in them, but they still function the same. Chemical agents, batons, all those things. But probably most important is they practice their words, and they learn how to communicate with people in stress, different levels of stress. If the officers are not handling it properly, the instructor can change the person's behavior to escalate it. But if the officers are responding properly, they can bring the situation down. And that's what we see in most cases. When an officer can de-escalate, the outcomes are much better. And so we have thousands of different types of scenarios we can run through this, and also how to deal with people who are in various stages of crisis or autism, some other challenges as far as communications go. So officers can recognize it and respond to it appropriately. And so that's right down from our briefing room. We can move officers from the briefing room into the training, spend 10 minutes. If an officer needs some additional training in a certain way, we can do that. And we've also made it available to some of the community members so they can kind of understand the challenges officers face every day with some stress, with some adrenaline, with some fear, and trying to make a split-second decision. And I think that creates a better partnership between the police department and the community, because they can really see, wow, this is kind of a tough job, and trying to make these decisions is very difficult. But that piece of technology is rare in our area. Another investment from the city council that I appreciate so much, and it makes better police officers.
Great, thank you. We have a comment in the chat from Marcia McInnes. Did you want to share a few words?
Yes, thank you. I'm Marcia McInnes, and I'm president and founder of NAMI Tri-Valley. We've never met that I can recall, and the police are our lifeline on many things that have to do with mental illness. We've been around about 17 years in Livermore, and we serve Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton. We never heard of a mobile crisis team until today. I'm jumping up and down in my mind here going, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. But I would love to be able to meet with you and share all the things that we're doing. We've helped the police in the past upon their request, and we are here as a support system. So is that something that we could do?
Absolutely. And I do appreciate all your support. Horizons Family Counseling is part of the police department. They won the Helen Putnam Award, like the mayor was mentioning. And our crisis team is also supervised by Horizons Family Counseling. So I know we have a long partnership. I would love to sit down with you whenever you're available, and I'll put my email in the chat, so you can send me an email and we'll get that scheduled.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very good. I think we have a couple minutes left. Are there any other questions? I know, Mark, you had your hand up for a minute. I wasn't sure if you had a question.
Mark Allen? Is that
Maybe
maybe
I think I clicked the wrong button. I was probably trying to clap on something rather than trying
okay.
to speak. So thank you. Thanks.
Well, we can all clap. This has been a fantastic meeting and presentation.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your leadership as Chief of Police here in Livermore. Does anyone have any other comments they'd like to share in this forum?
Yes, I just want to thank you, Chief Young, for participating this morning. We appreciate you being here. And thank you for bringing all that information to us. And what a wonderful connection that was made right here at Business Alliance. So that's a good thing. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. You know, this is a time where we are thankful for, you know, what we have in our life, the blessings that we receive, and just want to reinforce that for everybody today. Thank you for
Yeah.
being with us this morning.
Absolutely. If Chief Young, if you'd like to put your contact in the chat, if anyone has any other comments or questions they want to address. And our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 4th. If that date sounds familiar, it is also the date of our bowling tournament. So sounds like a great day to be part of the chamber. Have a great day, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you all.